Hey guys, it's Victoria. Welcome back to FemmeHead. If I sound a little stuffy and congested, it's because I'm on the tail end of it, but I'm still kind of sick, so I still sound a little off. That's why. But today I wanted to come on here and talk about why I stopped using tampons. I can't quite remember exactly when it was that I first started using tampons, but I want to say it was sometime at the end of or after my freshman year of high school. I had to muster up a lot of courage to give it a go, especially after not succeeding the first 2 attempts I made at using a tampon. But once I got the hang of tampons, I ditched the disposable pads and went, a good chunk of my life just using tampons. And I guess I used them in combination with panty liners, but from about the time of the summer after my freshman year, we'll say, until the year after I graduated from college, I used tampons. And I just thought that was that. I did not know that your options went beyond that. I just thought your 2 options were pads or tampons. I didn't know there was anything else out there in the world, but there is. I really wish I could remember what first made me realize that there was something called a menstrual cup. I remember I was a senior in college, somehow discovered that menstrual cups existed. At the time, I kind of thought the idea of them were a bit crazy and that probably only weirdos used them. It wasn't until I graduated college, stopped taking the pill, and started charting my cycle that I became interested in using a menstrual cup. And it was around that same time that I had really started becoming more conscious of what I was putting into my body, as well as at the beginning of starting to recognize the amount of waste I was creating. So I started researching different brands and I settled on my first, which was the Lunette cup. I recently made a video where I talk about some of my favorite period products, and I think I do talk about the Lunette cup in there because it is one of my favorite. So I put that up above and down below if you want to go and learn about more of my favorite products. Just like with tampons, there is a learning curve to using a cup, but it really only took me a few cycles to get the hang of it. And now, I honestly can't ever see myself going back to using tampons, and there are a few reasons to that. 1, what tampons are made from, the amount of waste they produce. I really just prefer a menstrual cup now, and 4, you only need 1 menstrual cup instead of constantly having to have a supply of tampons. I had come to realize that the material that the tampons were made out of that I was using weren't jiving so well with my body. They made me uncomfortable and irritated, and I just never kind of recognized that before. Most of the tampons that you can buy in a store are made from non-organic cottons, rayons, and other synthetic fibers to boost the level of absorbency. And then when you start to think of the world of agriculture and all the chemicals and pesticides and everything that's sprayed onto the cotton plants, that is not getting filtered out in the process of making tampons. That becomes part of the cotton that goes into the tampon, and you are then putting that into your body. Not to mention the fact that a lot of the cotton that are used in tampons is bleached to, reach that level of bright white that we expect, that we associate with hygiene products and cleanliness. And like I said, this was probably around the same time that I started becoming aware of the amount of trash I was producing and how I started discovering the disconnect I had between what I was putting in my trash can and, never wondering where that ended up. Never having that link of trash can to landfill or trash can to landfill to ocean or wherever it ends up. When you think of a small tiny tampon, it seems small in comparison to other things you throw away. But in my mind, especially now, it just seems like such a simple switch to make. While they seem so small on their own, when you start adding up the amount that you use every day that you're on your period, every week you're on your period, each month, each year, over your lifetime, and then you multiply that by the number of people in the world that are menstruating, that is an enormous pile of tampons and pads we're talking about. More than 45 billion pads and tampons are used every year around the world. 45 billion, that. Numbers that get up into the millions and the billions are hard for me to wrap my mind around. It's hard for me to actually picture that, but I know 45 billion is a really, really big number. And these are all going into the landfill, hopefully, if they end up there. There are green tampons that can take around 5 years to decompose, but your standard tampons take around 500 years to decompose, and that's because of those handy dandy little plastic applicators that we all use. And I know not all of us use plastic applicators, but I feel like those are pretty mainstream, especially here in the States. then there's 8 million tons of plastic that ends up in our ocean each year. And if you think, well, you know, that doesn't really matter, the ocean is a huge place, like what's a little plastic? I really highly encourage you to go watch a documentary about plastic in the ocean. Like I've watched a couple and they've all been fascinating, and that's really what opened my eyes to like, okay, I really need to take stock of the amount of trash I'm creating, the amount of plastic I'm using day to day. And while I'm far from perfect, like so far from perfect, I have made leaps and bounds from, you know, the person I used to be and how much plastic I used to use and the amount of waste I used to create. It's just, I think being knowledgeable is important and being ignorant isn't helping anyone. In the end, for me, giving up tampons and switching to a menstrual cup, it's about preference, it's about convenience, and it's about being kinder to the environment. And so I'm curious, if you've given up tampons and switched to something else, what have you switched to and what made you switch? Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to FemmeHead for more videos like this. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!